Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter. My name is Father Kyle. And since I'm continuing to eat my Reese's eggs here, we know that we must still be in the octave of Easter. And so the church continues celebrating with that great joy of the resurrection. And I think in order to celebrate this joy of the resurrection, we should take a little look at English grammar today. It'll be a very edifying and joy-filled experience. But we say, we proclaim that Christ rose from the dead. And that proclamation, certainly true, we use the past tense of the verb to rise. Jesus rose from the dead. Suggests sort of an event that happened. And certainly that is, because Jesus did rise from the dead. An event that shook the earth, that really shook up the disciples and brought them great amazement, but then great joy as well. But even better, we could use the past participle. We could say, Christ has risen. This is also to suggest an event that began and was completed in the past, but also has some bearing on the present for us. Because that's true. Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus has risen, which is to say that that still affects us today. We celebrate that joy as well. But even better than that, we can use the past participle to form an adjective, to say that Christ is risen. Christ is risen. And this way we say it's an adjective, a permanent characteristic that Jesus has now. His resurrection is something that continues. It's with him forever, with us forever as well. And so in Mass today, for opening hymn, we sing, Christ our Lord is risen today, which is a great hymn, which was a little too high for me to sing this morning, but we struggled through, right? But Christ is risen. That's what we proclaim. And it continues to affect us, even to this day, even in our very lives. In the gospel today, Mary Magdalene is trying to cling on to Jesus. Jesus says he needs to ascend to his Father. Mary's just so caught up, and Jesus has risen from the dead, which is great, but she was kind of holding on to Jesus. And Jesus says, well, there's another step in my plan for salvation. If anybody remembers back to the previous words that we had for the memorial acclamation, kind of before the translation changes, we used to proclaim, Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again, right? We kind of got rid of that one because it doesn't exist in the Latin translation and doesn't really speak about how Christ affects us, how the mystery of salvation affects us as well. Anyway, that's kind of beside the point. Anyway, Christ has died. That happened one time. Christ is risen. That continues. Then Christ will come again. We're waiting for something still too. There's another step to it. And that's what Mary of Magdala is kind of realizing today. Jesus is trying to teach her that he needs to go to ascend to his Father. And even that's not the final step, because one day he will come again in glory. So we do proclaim Christ is risen today, but we also hope for Jesus' coming, where his plan of fulfillment is brought to completion, where the resurrection is entirely made manifest, and his glory permeates all of creation. So dear brothers and sisters, we continue our Easter octave proclaiming Christ is risen, and we celebrate again with great joy as we continue our Easter octave, these 8 days, celebrating the joy of resurrection. God bless you. Have a great day.